p.m. on October 25th, 2022. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please. Roll call.
Mayor Jerry Daly.
Here.
Trustees George Duberstein.
Here.
Christian Olive. Here. Wally Priest.
Here.
Mary Kogel. Here. Jack Chanala.
Here.
Georgianne Duberstein. Here.
Okay, we have quorum. I need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees George Duberstein.
Aye.
Christian Olive. Aye. Wally Priest.
Aye.
Mary Kogel. Aye. Jack Chanala.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein. Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, thank you for coming. It's you mailing did its job. I'd like to introduce John Househill, the founding partner of Househill and Levine. He's been our community planner now for 4 years, something like that, 4 or 5. And he will take the lead in this. His company is going to be holding. John will explain the process, so I don't have to second guess him. So, John, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Mayor. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out on what's been one of the crummiest fall nights we've had this fall. This has been one of the best autumns I can remember in a decade here in the Chicago region, so I don't mind a little Halloween weather. My name is John Househill, like the mayor said. I'm the founder of Househill Levine Associates. We're a consulting firm that does urban planning, and we do urban planning all across the United States, which means almost all of my clients are cities. So we work with cities all over the United States, from small farming communities up to, we're doing the comprehensive plan for Dallas, Texas right now. So everything from several million to a handful of farmers and everything in between. And what we're working on tonight is we're going to be kicking off a comprehensive plan. Anybody have an idea? Not the die answers, you guys know. Anybody have an idea what a comprehensive plan is? Anybody? Let's hear it. Give me go ahead. I see some nods over there. So right there, the gentleman in the navy blue jacket.
Oh, thank you. That's not good for nodding. It's just a usage of existing land and the purposes for those existing lands.
Yeah, that's right. So it's comprehensive planning is a long-range plan. It's not what we're going to do next week. It's what we're going to do over the next 10 to 20 years. And land use, you're exactly right. Land use is the fundamental core of a comprehensive plan. Where do you want residential neighborhoods? Where do you want new commercial? Where do you want parks and open space? But it's where do you want different types of land uses? Do you want new residential? What type? And where should it go? Every city in the country does comprehensive planning, okay? It comes from the 1926 Standard State Planning Enabling Legislation from the federal government that bestowed on every state the ability to have counties and cities plan for the next 10 to 20 years. It's called a comprehensive plan, and in Illinois we do these all over. We do them all over the country for states everywhere. So it's a 20-year plan. Planning is kind of like, it doesn't matter whether you're planning the next 20 years for Hainesville or whether you're planning your daughter's wedding for next October. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Where are you right now? The good, the bad, the ugly. Where do you want to go? And what do you have to do to get there? That's it. Planning has to do those 3 things. You have to have an honest assessment of what you've got to work with. And when we start planning for a city like in Hainesville, you have a very established pattern of development, right? On the main corridor through town, you have all your commercial uses. You've got the new Firestone going in. You've got the 7-Eleven. You've got the Walgreens. You've got some of the other uses along the corridor. You've got your residential development primarily up to the north, right? And then you've got some open space. You've got the gun club use. You've got other things down on the south side. And you've got different uses sort of on the western side of town, some industrial uses or auto-oriented uses and some open space. But we're not coming in with a blank canvas. That's your existing town. And we're going to start with that. But as developers come toward you over the next several years, or a new subdivision developer comes into town, what do you want where, right? And it's your job to say, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, this is what we like to see, and if you're going to come to Hainesville to do business, build something, open a store, this is we'd like to work with you, this is what we want, this is what we don't want. It's a way to sort of self-determine within the market your own destiny for the next couple of decades, right? And zoning, everyone knows what zoning is. Zoning is predicated upon planning. You gotta get your planning right. So tonight's the first step toward the planning process. It'll take several months, probably about 6 months or so, to develop a plan. A lot of plans we work on take anywhere from 1 to 2 years, which is a big process. This one's a little bit similar, it's a smaller community. But the first thing we do when we start planning is we don't come in and say, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should consider that. That's not what we do. The first thing we do is we ask residents, business owners, elected and appointed officials, what do you want? What do you not want? What is most important? What should we be looking at as a community over the next 10 to 20 years? So we're kicking off the process tonight. Over the next several months, there'll be other meetings and workshops for you to come back and give us your feedback. This will be the first meeting of the comprehensive plan where you're not giving something in advance. We're just asking you what we think, and we're going to walk you through this. In subsequent meetings, over the next several months, if we have a meeting and we have draft materials we want your opinion on, we'll make those available to Village Hall. You can come look at them, and we'll make them available online through the Village's website. You can go online and look at them. Then we'll have a meeting. We'll say, okay, you saw the plans. We'll present them. What do you think about what we've done? So every meeting after this, you'll have material to look at before the meeting, and we'll get your feedback. But we're just starting this evening. So long-range planning, we want your opinions this evening. It's about a 6-month process, and at the end of the day, we will be producing a comprehensive plan that will hopefully reflect your priorities, what you want to see for Hainesville. The elected officials will adopt it, and then when a developer comes forward, we look at changing your zoning, a home builder comes to town, whatever, the first thing they will look at is your long-range plan to see if what they are proposing is consistent with what you want for Hainesville, right? That's the purpose, the legal foundation of what a comprehensive plan is. So before we jump into like an hour-long exercise or so, does anybody have any questions for me at all? Yes, ma'am.
I realized I have a very basic question, which is, I don't have a good understanding of what are the limits of Hainesville, that it goes south 120, or how far up 134 it goes. So just having a sense of the map of what constitutes Hainesville.
Okay, well, so that's a good, I don't know if you want to, go ahead.
I can handle it if you want. Washington Street is the north end, up to the, right before Harriman Farms. That's our east side going down. We go down to South Airport Road, almost up to Allegheny, but there are a few lots over there, starting around the church and behind the church, that are Grays Lake. So it's kind of a patchwork over there. Most of that land south of the railroad tracks, all the way to the village sign on the west end, is owned by the gun club. Okay? We go out, if I refer to the Groot plant on 120, we're about 2 lots, our border is about 2 lots this side of that. And of course, Holiday Lane, the neighborhood directly behind us, that is our western edge. Does that answer?
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'll be
How many
Oh,
square
well,
miles?
excuse me, that's right.
2 square miles.
We have
2 square miles?
an older section of Hainesville. If you turn up 134 and go past the entrance to Cranberry Lake, there are about 3 blocks back in there that look like it belongs around Lake Park. It's actually Hainesville. You can find on our website, under building, our zoning map, and that will lay out our boundaries. Okay?
It goes to the Stop and Shop along. Yes,
We stop and shop on 134, classic printeries right there too.
So as we go forward in the process, we'll start producing exhibits, like preliminary plans and ideas and concepts. And on those maps, we'll start producing maps, because a big part of comprehensive planning are maps, right? So we'll map out the village, so you'll see very clearly where everything is. And you ask a very insightful question, because it's not just where the city boundaries are. In the state, in every state, in the state of Illinois, it's 1.5 miles. You're allowed to plan beyond your city limits, okay? So when you get into more developed areas, cities are immediately abutting each other, right? Like you cross the street, you're in another city. here you leave the city limits, you may be in the county unincorporated area for a considerable area, right? Well, you're allowed in the state of Illinois to plan up to 1.5 miles outside of your city limits. You can't plan into another city. You can't tell another city what they can do, but you can plan into the county. And that way, when the county considers something, they will look at your plan to see if what they're proposing in the county is consistent or not. They don't have to follow it, but they do a pretty good job of trying to dovetail with cities. But more importantly, you know, cities grow over time. A lot of cities do, not all of them. And if somebody comes to you and says, I want to develop this 30 acres and I want to annex to become an official part of the city, you can't wait till they come in to plan for that area. You want to plan for it while it's in the county, so when it comes in following your plan. So we're allowed to plan outside of the city up to 1.5 miles. So you had your hand up, Dan.
I did, but I think you pretty much answered
Okay.
it. I wanted to know, beyond the limits, what our available resources were.
Right.
Because that, I think, most of us don't know.
Correct, so you can plan up to 1.5 miles. We don't zone, that's in the county. We can't approve development or deny it, that's in the county. But the county will refer to our plan for reference. And if anybody wants to develop in the county and annex into Hainesville sometime in the future, we can say, you want to come into the village, we've thought about this, here's what we would like that area to be developed as if it comes in. So in other states, it's 2 miles. In Colorado, they have a 3-mile area, but in Illinois, it's 1.5 miles.
I believe that the only land that is not incorporated in our general area is the airport.
Right. You had a question?
Yeah, just like the southern part of Hainesville, I'm not 100% familiar with, is that mostly partly owned farmland, or is that land owned by Hainesville, the southern part?
The southern part, south of the tracks, where the gun club is, and most of it is Hainesville. Do you know where Airport Road is?
Sure.
That is our southern boundary.
But is it privately owned farmland currently?
There are a few individual lots towards Allegheny Road that are privately owned. Most of it, again, most of that property is owned by the Northbrook Sports Club.
Oh,
So when we say something is in the village, it doesn't mean the village owns it. Private property rights are very important and real things, so people have the right to do with their property, you know, what legally they're allowed to do with their property. But governments have the ability to plan within their jurisdiction. So even though something is in the village, it may not be, likely is not owned by the village, so the village isn't going to be the one developing those properties.
Back corner, John.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're only 2 square miles, correct, you said. Painesville is only 2 square miles in size. What areas are you really focusing on development more than others? Is there more areas open for development than, of course, we know the residential places are not open for development, we understand that. The gun club owns a lot of the property. What other areas are you specifically looking at to say this brings value by doing development? 2 square miles is not a lot.
It's not.
That's my concern for me as a citizen of Hainesville is where you're looking and what is available.
Sure, so 1, don't be concerned. 2, we look at everything. And again, if the village identifies a piece of property as being appropriate for development, like if development happens, this would be a good site for it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Right. It may sit vacant for the next 30 years. It may get developed next week. And we do a lot of comprehensive plans in communities that are 100% built out, but they want a plan in place for the next 20 years saying, you know, we don't want much to change, we want a few things to change, but we want to make sure we provide guidance on what that change would look like. So it doesn't mean, and at this point, it's premature to say what areas we're targeting or not. We're just starting the process literally this evening, but we will be looking at everything. So one of the first things we will do in the next meeting we'll have, we'll do a review existing conditions, that map of the village that shows every property in a map and how it's currently used. And that'll be sort of the chalk line, right? That'll be our starting point. And then everything we do from that point, we'll say, okay, well, this is existing X, Y, and Z. We want it to remain X, Y, and Z. We don't want that to change. The plan can put that into place. There may be some sites along Belvedere or other roads where we say, you know, this is a perfect opportunity for what we'd like to see. We would like to see this, and then that can go in the plan. So we haven't gotten there yet, but we will be looking at everything. Things that will likely change, and a lot that will likely stay the same. So take a couple more, then we'll get started. Yes, sir.
You mentioned annexation by request from a private developer, potentially. What's about the reverse situation where, under what circumstances might the village want to annex a property that's the opposite
there's annexation, so it's something that's in an unincorporated county area that would come into the village, right? And that can be either done through voluntary annexation or involuntary annexation. The state sets the rules through which annexation can occur. It's very specific. And given its size and adjacency, most annexations are voluntary. Most communities don't do involuntary annexation, meaning they force somebody to come in, right? That's usually not what is done. And most developers choose to annex when they need utilities or infrastructure that the county can't provide, right? If they want to do a development that well and septic simply will not support, and they need some other type of services, or they want Hainesville on their name or whatever, they will say, we want to annex because we want the benefit of being part of the village. They could very well not choose to annex and stay in the county, but they wouldn't get the benefit of the services and amenities and infrastructure of the village. Forced annexation is a whole other ballgame. It can only be a certain area. You have to completely surround it. You have to have a certain percentage of property owners willing to come on board. So involuntary annexation is not what we're talking about.
Do you know for a fact or not how Grace Lake acquired all the extra property from their original boundaries?
I don't know. I could look into it, but I don't know. And again, what most communities do when they annex or have somebody annex is they may get one big family farm. And the family farm says, we will annex in. And you cannot annex something you're not adjacent to, right? You can't leapfrog out and pick properties. You have to be adjacent. But you can leap right-of-way, and you can leap forest preserve in Illinois, right? So if you go down to like Palos Park, they have areas that are like 3 miles on the other side of the forest preserve because you can go through forest preserve. So it gets tricky, but we're not talking about forcible annexation. A couple more.
So I would imagine you also look, like for example, hypothetically, you have commercial properties that would open up, or hypothetically residential. Would you look at water usage, because we are a small village with deep wells, and with climate change and so forth, those are all factors that I would imagine are taken into account when it comes to water usage.
Sure. So we'll look at all that. We'll look at land use. We will look at community facilities. We'll work with the village to take a look at their infrastructure. We will take a look at parks and open space, environmental features. So we'll take a look at all the transportation. We'll take a look at all of that, because while land use and development is sort of the core or the nugget of a comprehensive plan, so is open space, recreation, environment, transportation, community facilities, infrastructure. We have to look at all of it. We have to look at all of it. Some of it gets a deeper dive than other parts, but we have to look at all those pieces. We don't want to recommend development in an area that can't be supported. And if we say we would like to support it here, it's a perfect place for it, but the infrastructure doesn't exist, if the village wants to see that developed, either they have to proactively put in the infrastructure, or when a developer comes on board, they have to pay for the infrastructure. So we'll try to identify those circumstances.
Thank you.
All right, one more, young lady way in the back. Well, then we'll get you.
Sorry, I just have a question about annexing. I was just curious.
I'm sorry, could you speak up, please?
I just have a question about like the actual boundaries of annexing. Is like to annex a part of land, is it whoever owns a specific land, whether it's the corporation or the private owned property, are they in control of annexing into another county, or is it the village or county that controls what can be annexed and what to continue to have?
It's a good question. The property owner is the one who can apply for annexation. They petition for annexation into a municipality from the county. You don't annex from one county to another county. You would annex from the county into a municipality. So it would be unincorporated, and you would go into the incorporated city area or village area. The property owner is the one who, it doesn't matter, ownership doesn't matter if it's an individual, a trust, a corporation, it doesn't matter. If they own the property, they have the legal right to petition for annexation. The city is the one that would go through the process of annexing it, provided they meet state statutes.
Can folks please turn the phone off for silencing?
All right, one more, and then we're going to answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, one more, then we'll jump into it. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm retired from marketing, advertising, public relations, and investor relations.
Okay.
And whenever we would do a strategic plan, as you obviously quite good at it, but we would always begin, and it sounds like we were kind of there, but we would always do a SWOT analysis first.
Right.
What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Is there more to go at that stage, or are we kind of there?
Not there yet. Good question. So a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threats, right? It's a SWOT analysis. What we do is we sort of call it an issues and opportunities analysis, right? So when I said the first thing a plan has to do is where we are now, where we want to go, and what do we have to do to get there, we're in the where we are now phase. That's the SWOT analysis phase. It's what we have to work with now, the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's our existing land use. Here's what it allows us to do. Here's the constraints of our existing land use. Here's where all the open space is. Here's the benefits of that. Here's the hurdles of where the open space happens to be. So the first thing we will do after this is start an existing conditions analysis. Not any recommendations, just what do we have to work with right now? What is the village as a snapshot right now? And that will be an issues and opportunities assessment similar to a SWOT. So that's the first thing we do. It's a good question.
I also did serve as a commissioner for the city of Milwaukee on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
And I don't know how firm those zones are here, or if there's opportunities to change, to grow.
So the answer is yes. If I have questions, write this down, Charlie. We've got someone who's a marketing expert and zoning, so if you can help and get that nice number before he runs out of the room. That's an excellent question. So planning is the vision for the community. It's land use. It's not regulatory. A comprehensive plan will not dictate what you can and cannot do with your property. It's a guide. It's policy. It's a vision. It's what everything else is based off of. Zoning is regulatory, and it dictates what you can and cannot do with your property. You can seek relief through a rezoning, an amendment, or a variation, but what you're talking about is zoning. So planning comes first, and planning needs to happen without the constraints of zoning. If a community wants an area to be something over time, like a vacant area, it might be zoned agriculture now, right? In 20 years, it won't be agriculture, theoretically. So the village needs to say, we want this area's land use to be residential. Then you can come back in and say, it's vacant now, we're agricultural. We want it to be residential. The zoning is agriculture, let's change the zoning. Or let's work with the property owner to change the zoning. So we're talking about planning. We're talking about a policy guide. We're talking about a foundation for decision making. We're not talking zoning or regulations, not for this. That would come after the plan gets adopted. It's a good question. Spoken like a good commissioner. You're understanding the nature of this. Okay, so with that, we're going to jump into it. A couple things real quick. This is where you could do the work now. I'm going to stop talking so much. So we're going to have you write some things down on some papers we're going to hand out. So I'm going to hand out papers. If you need a pen or something to write with, raise your hand. And Charlie, this is Charlie from our office, he will get you a pen. And I'm going to hand out some questionnaires. Now, we're going to go back to like 3rd grade. Do not start writing on your paper till I tell you to write on your paper. If I say we're working on question number 1 and you finish question number 1, do not work ahead of the class and go to question number 2. Right? So raise your hand if you need a pen or a paper. And I'm just going to let you pass these down. Let's try that. I think that gets you. You guys need pens? All right, Charlie, get some pens. Look at that right there. And so for you guys, okay, perfect. That's when we go. All right, hang on.
Yeah. Which floor would you like?
Oh, you bet. Commissioner, this is for you. All right, so don't start writing yet. Does everybody have something to write with? And does everybody have a piece of paper? Okay, now, we're going to be collecting these at the end. There's no score, you don't get graded. And I know this is going to be challenging for some of you. Try to write legibly. We had to try to read these back at the office. And write concisely. I don't need a novel. however few words you can use. I always get scared when I see people in the audience, they're like this. And then they keep carrying over on the back side. So we're going to start with question number 1, okay? And question number 1 just says, identify 5 issues or concerns that you think are confronting the Hainesville community right now. So if you had to step back, what do you think are the 5 biggest issues facing this community right now? There's no limitations as to what you want to put. But we're talking about Hainesville community, 5 issues that you think this town is facing right now that they need to be aware of. So write down those 5 things on question number 1. Do not go on to question 2, 3, or 4. When you're done, you can lay your head in your lap or put your pen down or whatever you want to do.
Don't write the mayor's name.
Don't write. So 5 issues facing the village. It can be something very specific. We need a dog park. Or it can be something more general, like we need an economic development commission to attract new retail to the core. It can be specific or pretty broad reaching. Doesn't matter. I'm curious, while you're writing your answer, how many people have lived here more than 5 years? More than 10? More than 20?
Close.
30? After that, I have to quit asking and get in trouble.
How much of Hainesville is 30 years old?
Does anybody here want a business in town? Okay. Anybody here go to school? Like say high school or below? Anybody have your kids that go to school? Okay. I just wanted to kind of get a sense of the perspective we're getting.
Are you guys coming for credit for your class?
What's the class?
Oh,
Okay. I'll make sure to leave about 20 minutes at the end of the session for your presentations.
If you guys need proof, typically what we'll do is take a picture with me. So that you can-
Ours specifically asked for a picture with
$5
Like
each. It helps the town's pockets.
All right, we'll give you 1 more minute. Some of you look like you're done. We'll give you 1 more minute to jot down your 5 issues. Okay? Okay, so if you're still writing, keep writing, that's fine. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go around the room, and I'm gonna call on each person. And when I call on you, I want you to give me one of the things you wrote down. Not 2 or 3, 1. And Charlie is going to number it and write it down here. He'll likely abbreviate. This is just sort of a visual cue so we can keep track of what was said. Remember, we're going to be collecting your paper, so we'll know what your full answer was. This is just for us to keep track.
John, just an interruption. I'm
Sure.
sorry, I probably should have told. Hainesville does have a comprehensive plan in place, but it was put together in 2010, and it hasn't been updated since. That's what led us to this exercise.
And most comprehensive plans are done once every 10 to 20 years. They're written with a 20-year horizon, but they're typically updated more frequently than that. So Charlie's going to write down, I'm going to go around the room, I'm going to call on you, give me one answer. Charlie's going to write it down, we're going to work our way around the room. If the first person says we need a new dog park, and you have the same answer written down, I don't need to hear it again. Because we'll have dog park on the list. When I collect your papers, I'll know how many people wrote that down, but don't repeat something somebody else has already said. And if we go around the room and we get to you, and all 5 of your answers are already up there, just say all mine are already up there, we'll go to the next person. We're looking to generate a cumulative list of issues. And not issues from the consultant or somebody else, but issues from the residents of this community, what they think the 5 most important issues are. So we're going to go around the room, give me one thing, do not repeat something that you've heard already, and if all yours are already up there, just say all mine are already up there, we'll move on to the next person. Got it? All right, I'm going to start with you. One thing.
Traffic.
Traffic. We need more traffic.
Gee, George.
He said it. I'll often repeat what's said just to clarify it, right, and to make sure everybody heard it. So he's talking about some of the traffic issues in town.
Dog parks.
You want
I want a dog.
There you go. If my wife were here, those would be your top 5 answers. Dog park, bigger dog park, a third dog park.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a disadvantage. What I was looking at was public utilities not being able to reach our outer parts of our village at a uncostly, that would be very costly.
Right. So the cost of extending utilities to outer areas. Right.
Our utilities stop at railroad tracks on the west side.
Right.
And don't go any further than that, water, sewer, etc.
So cost of extending utilities. Let's put it this way. Charlie has the toughest job. Writing legibly and spell checking is no pressure. All right?
Mine kind of all falls into that traffic area,
Okay.
so.
All right. So you're good.
Yeah.
All right?
Lack of definition of what we want to be.
There you go. Lack of definition of what we want to be. Hopefully the comprehensive plan will solve that. Okay?
Open land not in use.
Okay. Charlie, catch up. Faster.
What was it?
Lack of open space.
Open land not in use.
Open land not in use. So open land not in use. Now some land is open by design and intention, right? And that's open space, right? And that's the difference between vacant property, which is anticipated to be built on some time, but right now it's vacant, right? Like sort of where the Firestone development is, right? That was vacant, but it was never planned open space. It was just vacant, had not been developed. Community involvement. Community involvement. Thank you all for coming out. 30 plus people is a pretty good turnout.
This is the largest turnout we've had in meetings since the gun, the misinformation that we were going to prohibit guns. And that was 4 or 5 years ago.
That would generate a crowd. Yeah. Usually you have to propose something nobody wants to get people to show up. So to talk proactively about the future of the village, thank you for showing up. I appreciate it.
We need a way of attracting businesses and developers.
Okay, we need business attraction, business and developer attraction. So, yep, need business and development attraction. Okay?
Some sort of safe walkway to cross over 120 so people on bikes on the bike path can safely go.
Okay. So safe pedestrian bike crossing over 120?
Yes.
Yep. So bike/pedestrian safe crossing over 120.
Or Hainesville Road for that.
Yeah, a lot of places probably. Okay, okay?
Don't overthink this.
Don't overthink this.
It's a small town, so don't want to try to do something you're not.
I love that. Don't overthink it. You're exactly right. That's good.
The noise from the gun club.
Yes.
Gun club noise.
You sound like the Ukraine.
When was the Sportsman's Club, the first, the Northbrook Club established? How long has it been?
'90s.
Early 90s?
Yeah. Can I share something, or do you just want to keep going?
No, go ahead, rock and roll. Right
There are two state laws, or a state law and an Illinois appellate court decision that prohibits Hainesville, or our community, from doing anything as far as the noise level. We can stop further expansion, because there's a post-1995, if they want to expand anything, it has to be 1,000 or 3,000 feet away from population, from residential and business areas. We can't tell them to turn it down.
This is some of that existing context, the good, the bad, the ugly that we're talking about. So some things are an asset, some things are an obstacle.
Okay, we need bike paths on 120.
Okay, bike paths along 120. Okay, we'll jump right behind you, sir, right here.
Illinois Route 53 future, and how would it incorporate into our present footprint?
Okay, Illinois Route 53 future. This is a question mark. Right? Okay, ma'am?
I mean, just like a sort of desire for protecting.
Hold on, you guys, I can't hear when, hold on, go ahead.
Just like I have a desire for protecting like green spaces
Okay.
and kind of like in the planning, considering.
So open space preservation, or green space preservation, okay, that's good. Okay,
Village image.
village image, very good. I emphasize that one a lot across the country because if you start letting yourself be defined by what other people say about you, that's a hard bell to unring. So you need to sort of own your own narrative. That's very good. Okay?
I'll piggyback on what Georgianne said. Not enough walkability, especially to sit-down restaurants. We have too many commercial restaurants.
Okay. So improve walkability.
Yes.
Okay, so walkability. 5 years ago, we could ask the community for the list of the 100 things they'd most like to see. Walkability was never on that list. And now it's almost always in the top 5.
Yeah.
So that has changed wholeheartedly in the last few years.
We need to bridge the east-west divide.
Okay? Bridge the east-west divide. Every town has something, right? In Kenilworth, it's like east or west of Green Bay Road. I live in River Forest, I live south of the tracks. I mean, everybody has some sort of perceived or real divide in the town. It's a thing. You're all set? Him, okay.
No matter how big or small any village is, bad things are happening today. And I strongly believe we don't have sufficient lighting throughout the village.
Okay, so need better lighting throughout the village, okay? So better lighting. All right, we're gonna jump right back to you, right there, on the end. Yep, yep.
I'd personally like to see more community involvement and like the encouragement of local businesses, small businesses.
Okay. So community involvement of small businesses, that's good. That's probably the most, that's insightful because one of the biggest economic themes we see across the country is that entrepreneurial incubation, and sort of that entrepreneurial theme. I think in decades past it was about attracting the big company, the big business, the big employer, the big industry, and while that's still there, the rapid growing undercurrent is that entrepreneurial small business. Yeah, that's good.
I said in elementary school being right off of 120. I know there's not much we can do about that, but I know like when I was there, it's kind of annoying that I could ride bike to school.
So safety of elementary school right on 120, okay? Sir, Commissioner, right here.
Development variety, medical, legal, corporate, retail, wholesale, residential.
Okay, did you get all that, Charlie?
What was it?
Retail, office, medical, residential,
Developmental variety.
yeah, a development variety. So we're talking, so development variety, and then he listed off commercial, retail, medical, residential, pretty much everything. You don't want to just have one offering in your town. You need, look at Detroit and Flint. They were a very homogeneous land use ecosystem. And when that went sideways, so went the town. So a diverse offering of development types is very, very important.
Okay, so I think we have a difficulty now adhering to our current standards.
Okay, good.
Specifically about like Cranberry Lake as a resource, that's a very valuable resource, but we have very difficult time maintaining our covenant and maintenance agreements.
Okay, so difficulty adhering to current regulations are, right? I'm a big stickler for enforcement. There's no point in, right. There's no purpose in having a speed limit posted at 35 if people every day just go bombing down the road at 80 and nobody ever does anything about it. Then take the sign down or start enforcing it. So, and that's true with regulations or maintenance or covenants or anything else. I agree. Ma'am?
This may be just a restatement of one of the earlier ones, but I suspect that Hainesville has very little tax base beyond residential property taxes.
Right, so the need to strengthen the tax base. This is the other, your response, the need to strengthen the tax base. If you don't have commercial or industry or retail or whatever, then you're dependent on just property tax from residential to pay for everything. That adds up fast, which is why economic development and attracting that diverse base, who said attracting businesses? Who was the person who? Okay, 6 people all pointing someplace else. But that's why that retail and the development and the other things is because if you don't have that, it's on the residential property tax burden. That it's heavy fast. You're on, oh, there we go. That's pretty good. Now listen, we got 20, 30 people in before we got it all up there, so that's pretty good. All right, sir, right here.
I was thinking crossing the street from the house on Belvedere to Fairview Elementary.
Okay.
Whether it be a bridge, something safer for the children. Because
So
some of them want to cross that street, but it's dangerous.
So safer crossing on Belvedere to the school, okay?
Balancing the commercial aspects that'll be here for a long time versus the old-time building we have here. This is a former farming community. At the same time, we don't want to get overrun by commercial.
Right.
But the commercial, we want to be substantial, be lasting for a long enough time. And there's too many mom and pop stores, right? Nothing against. They may not survive as long as like a Walgreens or a CVS we have here. So how do we balance the commercial development, but also at the same time keep the Hainesville logo we have in terms of a nice swampland area we have here sometimes? How do you balance it effectively and how can you sell it? I have family come up here from different parts of the country and they say, man, it's gorgeous out here. But do we want to lose all those trees right now, changing colors, for a big box store? So how do you balance that?
All right, so I'm going to say the long-term balance of development and village character or village character.
Yes.
So long-term balance of development versus village character. That's a good one. You don't want to lose who you are.
Yeah.
So long-term balance of development, and charm. Ma'am, you're all set, sir?
Yes,
You're all set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most everything, but event planning.
Oh, good, good. More opportunities for residents to get together. Look at that, you guys got together right there. Look at that. More of that. Bill, that's good. So more opportunities for sort of civic gatherings or events.
Did you like the 175th birthday party?
A lot.
Yeah.
He's waiting.
That lady right there.
Yeah.
Still waiting for the next one.
A lot. Keep it coming.
We're gonna get another 175 years.
176.
176.
You're all set?
Mine's not really like, I really don't know falls into that for, but Hainesville is obviously like very small when it comes to like
Okay, so we need to sort of.
Name recognition.
Yeah, so sort of promote Hainesville more, like get it out there, okay? So name recognition / promote Hainesville. Okay?
Mine was specifically like road conditions, like potholes, cracks, all that stuff, and that happens a lot more towards the train tracks.
Okay.
There's a lot of issues over like down that road, but just conditions of the roads.
Okay, good. So, condition of the roads.
Little twist in that. Washington Street, Hainesville Road, 120, 134, all belong to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. 120 and 134 is state, Hainesville Road, Washington are county. Our funds cannot be spent that way.
Yeah, what most people don't realize, to the mayor's point, is when we do this across the country, often the most important issues that are prioritized by residents are transportation related, and they're often the last ones, if ever, addressed, because it's not the jurisdiction of the city to solve those problems. It's the DOT, it's the county, it's the state, whatever, federal, depending on the roadway. So it's very challenging because you use those every day and you complain to the village or the town or whatever, they don't have the authority to go back and change or fix anything. So that's a challenge. And up here, there's a lot of county roads and there's a lot of IDOT roads that the village does not have the ability to improve even if they wanted to.
So you do have a solid point though.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it.
for sure, yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois, you can say, well stated. But
My road covered.
you're all up there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been around once, we've got 27, but we got a few more.
I just want to say that I've been in contact with Lake County DOT and Illinois DOT, and they are doing additional analysis of our program to see what they can do about the traffic.
Okay.
And at the rate they work, by the time you fill this chair, they might be doing something.
All right, so we've been around once, we've got 27 ideas, and rather than go around one by one, does anybody have any other ones they would like to put up on the list? We'll check up here first. Anybody else? You good with what's up there for now? Okay?
There's no downtown area.
Okay, lack of downtown, or no downtown. Okay? Anybody in the front row have any other ones they want to add? You good? Okay, the next row. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is just me, but there might be a desire to be part of the Grace Lake School District.
Okay. So to become part of the Grace Lake School District?
Yeah.
Okay, you can write that on this one if you want. Okay, so to become part of the Grace Lake School District.
We are.
Okay.
That side of Hainesville Road is, this side of Hainesville is
It's
not.
not. So you want all the whole village to be?
Yeah.
Okay. Everything's on the table. Now, I will tell you, it's a perfect example of, there's some things that even if a town wants to do it, the comprehensive plan's not gonna get that done. And school districts are their own jurisdiction, their own taxing body, their own authorities, their own elected officials. So that's sort of out of the purview of what the village of Hainesville would be allowed to do. They can work with the school district on initiatives to do different things, but it's not their authority like village issues.
Architectural uniformity or theme?
Okay, need for architectural uniformity or theme. For commercial areas?
For the village.
For everything, okay. So need for architectural theme or unity.
We were talking about expansion and so
Sure.
much. So definitely right now, and I know with the new police contract, lack of a dedicated police car to the village. We don't have a guaranteed dedicated car.
Okay.
It can be pulled.
Need a dedicated patrol car for the village. Did you have another one, sir, on the end? Or no?
No.
No? Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I feel like there's not a lot of space for community events because I know that there's usually things in like the field area of the Union Square Park, but I know like one of my friends lives like right across the street from that kind of complains about the noise.
Okay.
So like it could be like nice to kind of have like its own like designated area outside of the neighborhood.
So more public areas for gathering.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I don't mean to be derogatory, but I strongly feel that there is way too much lack of private ownership in the village.
Okay.
People, I know it's a tough economy, but people are not taking care of their properties. If you're going to have a home, you have to be able to cosmetically take care of the home.
Okay, so property maintenance, put that up there.
Call me sometime, sir. Tell me what's going on.
So anybody on the back rows, we'll get a couple more up there if anybody else has any. We're good? Okay, and again, you may have other ones on your paper. When we collect your papers, we'll know that. So we have 33 issues right now that this group has come up with, not anybody else. Residents of this community have come up with this collective list of 33 things that you think are facing your town. I want you to take a few minutes, look at this list. If you have to get up to read it, you can. If you want Charlie to read something off because you can't read it, well, not yet, but if there's something that you can't read, stand up and take a look at it. If you look at it and you don't know quite what it means, Charlie can explain it. But I want you to look at this list, and from this list, I want you to pick the top 3 most important issues in order of importance. And I want you to just write the number. I don't want you to write it out. You can say like number 3, number 18, and number 32, or whatever. So in order of importance, the 3 most important issues has to be from this list that you generated. The top 3 issues, you cannot combine them. We will combine them. All right, like we've seen up here traffic, we've seen road condition, we've seen safety crossing streets. Those are all sort of transportation and traffic related. We will group them and we'll say these are all transportation related issues. But for now, for you, don't combine them. Pick the top 3 in order of importance by writing down the number on question number 2. If you have to get up and look around, go ahead and get up and look around. And if you don't know what something says, ask Charlie and he can decipher it for you.
Hey, Jan. Can you send that to us?
Not a chance. Wait a minute, I'll use the bigger one. For $5. Right? Put it on my card. It's crazy.
It's crazy because down this moment.
We Chris, you got this clear. No,
Yeah.
Yeah. 18. As long as you read your phone.
Well, there's home Jack sending it to me.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll wait for that. That was a good picture myself.
This Jack wasn't being cooperative.
No, I figured he was just in the middle of the mayor. Ooh. I'm used to it.
Now we can just read them.
Yeah, what you have to do is you have to identify an issue, something that was just, okay, whose purpose is, whose job is this? And then get in front of those students who are articulating this issue. That's exactly what they do.
Nice work. Okay, you can pull that up.
Yeah.
We are, it's kind of blurry.
I can't help what age.
Oh, snap. I'm watching Chris. He is ducking on that one. Not coming down.
All right, top 3, we'll give you 1 more minute.
Yeah.
All right.
At least that's what I tell myself.
Oh, yes, sure.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. Everybody take your seats. We're going to go through the next phase of the question. So what we're going to do is this. Charlie's gonna read these out. He'll say like, number 1, traffic, all right? And he'll give a color marker. And then if you had traffic, or number 1, listed as one of your top 3 answers, I don't care if it was your number 1, number 2, or number 3 priority. If it was one of your answers for question 2, I want you to raise your hand. And like the students here know, this is not raising your hand, this is not raising your hand, this is raising your hand, all right? I need to know, I need to count your vote. You get 3 votes, all right? So Charlie's gonna read these off. He'll read off the number, he'll read off what it is. If you had that written down, raise your hand, you get 3 votes. We're just gonna very sort of matter-of-factly go through here. Then he'll take a red marker very lightly, sort of go through, scribble the number of votes next to each one so we can sort of see as a snapshot where your priorities lie. So Charlie, take it away.
So number 1 is traffic.
And I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Late Bloom Road is 12.
And then number 2 is dog park.
No? Okay, now here, so you don't have to put anything. So here's a good example. Just because something didn't get a vote doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean we're not going to look at it. It just means that when forced to pick and choose, it didn't get a vote.
And then number 3 is cost of extending utilities. Cost of extending utilities.
That was number 3. Nope. Let's just go writing these down. Yeah, just throw your hand up, yeah.
And then number 4 is lack of definition for our future.
2.
Then number 5 is open land not in use.
Open land not in use. 1. 2, I'm sorry. You up there 2? 3. So I hear 4. 3.
That
Would you clarify, what's the reason for voting to make these now?
Yeah, we want to see, so again, this group came up with these 33 things. Right. And sometimes we want to know, okay, these are all important, but what's most important? So we're asking you to vote for your 3 most important from your list. So you get, right, yeah, so when Charlie reads off the number, if you have that number written down, raise your hand, all right?
And number 6 is community involvement.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Number 7 is need business and developer attraction.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7.
Number 8 is safe bike or pedestrian crossings over 120.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.
Number 9 is don't overthink this process.
That gets mine. So 2. I'm just kidding. 1.
Number 10 is too much noise from the gun club.
Nope.
Number 11 is bike paths on 120.
1, 2, 2.
Number 12 is Route 53. What's the future of it? Determine that.
1.
Number 13 is green space preservation.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have a winner.
Number 14 is village image.
4.
Number 15 is walkability.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Number 16 is bridge the east-west divide.
Nope. You're one village.
17 is better lighting.
2.
18 is community involvement in small businesses.
1.
Number 19 is safety around the elementary school, especially with 120 there.
1.
Number 20 is improving development, variety, commercial, residential, etc.
2.
Number 21 is difficulty adhering to regulations.
2.
Number 22 is need to strengthen the tax base.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Time for open space.
Number 23 is safer crossing to school on Belvedere.
2.
Number 24 is the long-term balance of development / charm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Number 25 is more opportunities for civic gathering.
A 1, but to make it an exclamation point. He's pretty
There's no half raise here.
He's pretty into it.
We're working on it. We are working on it.
I dig the enthusiasm.
Then the next one, 26, is promote Hainesville / name recognition.
Say it again.
Promote Hainesville and name recognition of Hainesville.
1.
Number 27 is road condition.
No.
Number 28 is the lack of a downtown.
6. If you guys are cold, don't worry, we're turning the heat up for you.
Number 29 is making the whole village in the Grays Lake School District.
Nope.
Number 30 is a need for architectural theme throughout the community.
1.
31 is need a dedicated patrol car for Hainesville.
1.
32 is more public areas for gathering.
1.
And then the last one, 33, is improved property maintenance.
1. All right, so I know that diversified development and protection of open space were the 2 top ones at 10. Traffic got 12. So there's your top 3 right there. Is traffic, diversified development, and preserve and protect open space and green space. Those are your top 3. I think we had a couple other ones that were like 7s or 9s, right?
Yeah, we have a business developer attraction at 7, safe bike pedestrian crossing at 8.
Long-term balance. So economic development had 3 of the top 5. Traffic was one of the top ones. Open space preservation and protection, that green space was another one. So we do this for a couple of reasons. It's important for us as consultants to hear what you think is most important. We have to know that right at the beginning of the process. But I think more important is for you to know what you think is important. I think it's important for neighbors to know what their neighbors think is important. We all go through life, we think we're pretty aware, but in all honesty, we sort of go through life like this. We get up, we have our coffee our way, we go to our work our way, we do our job our way, we come home. I mean, we're aware, but we live our life. And we always have, that grumpy old guy who's lived in town 173 years and he knows everything. And he's like, you want to know what's wrong with this town? I'll tell you, it's this, and this. And I've known that my whole life. It's about time somebody asked me. And he sits there and he gives us his top 5 things, question 1, right? And then everybody throws their stuff up there. And then he's like, you know what? The young woman sitting next to me, she said some stuff I never thought of. Like, we should be doing what she said. Those are great ideas. About 70% of the time when we look at people's papers, what they vote for the top 3 isn't one of their 5. All right? So what that does is it starts changing the way you perceive your community. And you recognize that your neighbors have some ideas that you may not have had, that you're like, boy, that's pretty important. We ought to be taking a look at that. So This exercise hopefully gets some of you thinking about Hainesville in ways that you didn't come into this room thinking about Hainesville. And that's very important at the beginning of a planning process. So thanks for that. So now we're going to do question number 3. This is the toughest question. Imagine, if you will, tomorrow morning, the mayor wakes up, everybody on village board wakes up, and they're like, you know what, we've had it, we're moving to Naples. And what's your name? Judy, and Judy's in charge. All right? Turning off the lights, Judy, here's the keys. And the whole community gets behind Judy and says, you know what? You tell us the 3 things that we can start doing right now to make Hainesville better. You tell us and be specific, and we're going to start doing them. What are those 3 specific things we can start doing or do right away tomorrow when we wake up? And we got your back. We're going to start doing those 3 things. And you're calling the shots. So you guys are calling the shots. We're not identifying problems. We're saying if you're in charge, what are the 3 things you would do to make Hainesville a better place? And be specific. All right? Be as specific as you think you can be. You're in charge. The 3 projects or actions or initiatives that you would do if it was up to you to start making Hainesville better, what would those 3 things be? All right? So jot those down for question number 3. The 3 things you would do, the 3 projects you would undertake to begin to make Hainesville a better community. What are those 3 things? All right? It's a tough question. We'll give you 1 more minute. All right, so in the interest of time, we usually don't go around, and we don't write these down, we're not going to go around one by one. Now, whenever we do an outreach event like this, we will summarize all the results, and in about a week's time, we will deliver back to the village a summary of everything that was said to these 5 questions. So you'll be able to jump onto the village's website or swing by the village hall and get a hard copy. You'll be able to see a summary of this, and anybody who couldn't be here this evening will be able to see what was said at the event they couldn't go to. So,
John, will you send us a PDF?
Yep.
We'll put the PDF on the website.
Yep.
On the front page somewhere that you can find it.
And that's indicative of this process. Anytime we do anything, we'll make sure it's 100% available and you can comment on it. So with that said, I'm going to call on people as you raise your hands. And fair warning, if you don't raise your hands, I'll probably call on you anyway. But who's got something that they want to share in terms of what they would do to make the village a better place, one of their top 3 things?
Figure out how to effectively reach all of our citizens.
Okay. Figure out how to effectively reach all of our citizens. I'm gonna start calling on people if I don't see some hands, so there you go.
Find any empty commercial business and try to get another commercial business in there.
Very good, so fill some of the vacant commercial spaces.
Spaces or even land, whatever, try to develop.
Very good, very good. Commercial development, focus on that. Yeah, the back?
I think commercial development's good to focus on, but I also think we should preserve some land, just for like natural land, like forest reserves or even a garden.
Okay.
And have just something so we don't completely take out.
So to identify and preserve some of the open space.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Regarding the walkability issue, putting sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Okay, putting sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Create a sharper image of what Hainesville is that can be used to market it for further investment.
Very good. So to define a sharper image of who Hainesville is, and then use that in any recruitment or marketing efforts for economic development. Very good. Go ahead.
Estimating this one safer, just like have more accessible like pedestrian paths.
Okay, so more bike and bike paths throughout the village. Paths. Okay.
For ideas that I agree with what she said about the diversity of agriculture. I feel like it would be beneficial, for example, if we planted maybe more wildflowers that are like beneficial to the local bees or insects or birds, things like that.
So sort of increase sort of the biodiversity offerings through sort of the natural vegetation of open space.
Encourage more community involvement, whether it be neighborhood home improvement days or events or whatever.
So anything you can do to sort of increase neighborhood or community involvement. That's good. I like that. Yep.
It's a creative downtown area.
Create a downtown area. Focus on that. Okay.
And building on history, creating a downtown area, one that attracts outsiders, is walkable, and has a neat green space, dog park, or a plaza, and titles everything, even if it's small.
Right, very good. Hey, you hit on something, so it's funny when you think of a downtown, I don't care if it is big, small, contemporary, historic, there are hallmarks of every successful downtown. It's pedestrian oriented, right? It's a mix of uses, it's not one thing. It often has a residential component in some way, shape, or form near or in the downtown. It's attractive, it's safe, and it attracts from people beyond the community in which it is located. It becomes a destination unto itself.
To tie in with both of these last two suggestions, I think applying to get a metro stop station.
Okay, so applying for a metro station or try to get a metro station on the rail line, okay?
I think just like promoting small businesses, because obviously there are small businesses, and this can tie into like a downtown areas. Most of those businesses come Brookville a lot of the times, also attraction of the community, and that can like develop more into the downtown area. I'm just starting there, because downtown area is hard to like create instead of developing from the small businesses that are in place.
Okay, so do more to attract and build off of small businesses, okay? Good.
I think, I'm sorry to build on that, I think actually creating a more platform for small businesses could also promote community events, because therefore it's like, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but your customers are therefore more affiliated with you because you're in a local area.
Right.
So when you create, exactly, your customers go from your neighbors, you create events around those businesses. that
Right.
are working as well.
It's more of a relationship than just like a name.
I don't know if they're gonna get like canceled too about this because of the roadways, but where Beer Bazaar was and the old Firestone, like if you're heading west, it was always kind of like hard to figure out how to enter there if you're not from here. Because you can't turn left into that area, so I felt like that was a barrier for those businesses.
Right, so access to those commercial properties, making it a little bit better.
Yeah, but we're planning from the very get-go of that. And IDOT controls whether we can do left turns in or out. It's a mess. It should have been built differently.
All right, a couple more. Anybody else? Something they would do, yep?
To your point that you brought up earlier, enforcement of housing codes, and I mean that if we issue a permit, you can't be remodeling or rebuilding a home for 2 years.
Yeah.
And we have that situation.
Yeah, the never-ending construction project. Anybody else? And one more. Something they would do to make the village of Hainesville better.
a quality, I don't mean McDonald's, a quality sit-down restaurant creates camaraderie.
Right. So quality sit-down restaurant, not just fast food. Okay? Okay, so and again, if you've got other ones written down, I'm sure you do, we'll collect your papers and we'll summarize those. The last question, number 4, is one of the most important. And it's sort of surfaced in different ways this evening. It's easy to sit around and say like, oh, this is no good, or we need to do better with that, and there's potholes over here, and I can't get over here. It's easy to sit around and sort of pick apart what's not great. But if you don't identify what's best about what you have, you run the risk of losing it. There's a lot of small towns and big towns across this community, like when urban renewal, this federal program that went through back in the late 60s and 70s. They were going to bring economic development to all these small communities. And they came into these downtowns and they took vinyl siding and they covered up all the beautiful architecture and they ripped out buildings and they put in parking lots, and they were going to make these towns economically thriving. And what they did is they stripped them of all architecture, sense of place, small town charm. You fast forward 60 years, and what are all these towns doing? They're ripping off the vinyl siding, they're redoing the architecture, they're bringing pedestrians back, they're introducing the charm. Because those communities didn't say, first and foremost is our charm, our sense of place, our architecture, our identity, our pedestrian atmosphere. Given these priorities, how can we make our downtowns more successful? But they just went right away to economic success and blew away the most important things they had because they didn't identify what was best about what they had. So what is best about Hainesville? What is Hainesville's greatest strengths? What are your greatest assets? What are your greatest advantages? Because those are the things you have to build on going forward. Before you start doing something new and different, recognize what you have that is good and protect it and enhance it and build off of that as you do new things. But you have to identify what's best. So on the last question, jot down what you think is best about Hainesville. What are Hainesville's greatest strengths? And what are Hainesville's greatest assets? Jot those down on your paper for question number 4. All right, so as you're jotting things down, just throw out one something you want to share with the room. We're not going to go around just throwing out there like strength of Hainesville right there. You look at me and know you got a good one.
Well, just the upgrade that we've been doing within the infrastructure of Hainesville.
Very good.
Nobody will see, but they are there.
The upgrades that Hainesville is already doing now in terms of infrastructure. Nobody sees it, but if you don't have it, you know.
That's water, sewer, and
We are in great financial shape.
That is a, okay, you don't hear that often in Illinois. I work all over the country, and financial solvency, financial responsibility, fiscal soundness from a municipality, that is a great thing. That's a huge asset.
And when you look at your tax bill, don't say we're paying all these taxes to the village. Look down your blue sheet for your tax bill and realize the small amount that goes to the village. But we've got money set aside to do what we need to do.
Right. That's a huge asset. All right, who's got another one? Strength of the village.
We've always found the elected officials and the staff of the village to be very responsive when we call, my husband and I, with questions or concerns. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Another thing you don't hear in a lot of communities, so that's fantastic. Yeah.
This like kind of pertains to the residential areas specifically, but there's a lot of accessible parks in our area, which is really nice.
Very good. A lot of accessible parks.
I was going to say, we already have a lot of land preservation and green space dedicated to the town, and we also have land to still develop.
That's very, very good. A lot of communities are landlocked. They don't have the opportunity to do new things, whether it's preserve new space or to develop new priority areas. So the opportunity to do both of those is pretty nice.
Put down a friendly and accessible village board.
Very good. Friendly. Look at them all smiling up there. They are what a handsome bunch, right? Look at that.
For the $5. We have an incredibly diverse
Oh, that's great.
that makes us more than just your average suburban town.
Yeah,
Or community.
you're a community. There's a big difference between just living in a place and feeling part of the place. It's a totally different thing. But
Cranberry Lake Conservancy on the west end and the wetlands on the east end, which are great because of climate change.
Right. Very good. That's great. Sir?
I think overall the potential of the community. I mean, you don't run into many towns where, well, we don't really have a downtown area and we have a chance to build one.
Exactly right. Yeah. Right.
So that's you seldom hear that.
Potential is a great thing. Right. Couple more. Yeah.
I remember seeing a list of suburbs showing the crime rate. We were right near the bottom.
It's where you want to be. Right. That's good.
I was gonna say that, I've lived in 4 other communities, small and big, but this is the only one where everyone respects, well, at least that I found, respect their neighbors' belongings.
Oh, that's right. Right. So respectful neighbors, properties, belongings to each other. Couple more. Yeah.
I was going to say that the neighborhoods are like, they look nice. The town is very nice, even though it's not a lot. The houses are well built and well kept.
So it's an aesthetic. It's an attractive community.
Yes.
Right, Commissioner? Jim? Commissioner Jim?
We have a very positive Lake County location, and it's easy access for all people.
Right. Your regional location is fantastic. You're sort of close enough to stuff, but far enough away to be sort of a little, yeah, it's nice.
I see the biodiversity of the community.
Pardon?
The biodiversity, just in general.
Okay, very good. And then one more.
Might sound silly, but we live in a digital age, and I find that we have a really good community presence on social media. Like, I need a resource or something, and I need to look it up online. I can even find it on the website.
Oh, that's great. That's a good one. That's really good. Go ahead and say it a little bit louder for the.
There's a good, the community presence on social media is very accessible, resources wise, and like if I need to contact someone, I can find it. So.
I'd love to take credit, but it's my staff. I can barely spell Facebook.
Okay, you just there dated yourself by saying by saying Facebook. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, by sort of more in the theme of what you guys are thinking of. Okay. I have 2 college-age kids, so just a guess. But anyway, so that's it. So again, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of competition for your time. I know there's a lot of stuff to do. It's easy to sort of get lost in the background noise of your everyday life to sort of step back and take stock of where you live and the community that you're helping to build. And this is just the beginning of the process. So again, over the next 6 months or so, we're going to be having a few more meetings to showcase stuff, to go over ideas, and over the next 6 to 8 months or so to develop a comprehensive plan for you. Hopefully as it begins to evolve and take shape, you sort of recognize and see your fingerprints on it. You sort of can say, boy, I was at the meeting where we talked about that and this is what's important. I can tell you right now, we're not going to develop a plan that everybody likes, every single part of where there's 100% consensus. Ask anybody who's married, not everybody agrees on everything. But we do this public outreach to make sure that it is a reflection of what the community's vision is for itself. We have to dovetail that with market realities and property rights and a lot of other things, agencies and organizations that are outside the village's purview or domain. But what we're trying to do is create a foundation to help the village make better decisions over the next 10 to 20 years that is reflective of the values of this community. And it starts here tonight. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. You can just pass your papers down here and look forward to working with you over the next several months.
And remember, one of the best ways to influence the community is vote. Get out there on the 8th and vote. Or before.
Mayor, I just have one comment I'd like to make. Excuse me a second. I just want to thank all of you for coming tonight. We have sometimes a problem trying to get input from the villages when we try to do whatever we try to do up here. And so this has been very useful for us to get your input. And I might ask you if in the future, you have, I mean, people sometimes stop in on the street and talk about things.
But usually he's lost.
Anyway, you don't have to talk to me necessarily, any one of the people on the board. If you have any ideas or any complaints or any suggestions, feel free to contact us. Our emails are on the website, and so we certainly would be willing to look at whatever you have to say. So thank you again for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming forward. We're going to take a 10-minute recess before we go on with the meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Why